here with Andy Hicks. He's Research Director at IDC. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about the public cloud. On the one hand, we've got some carriers moving away from offering public cloud services. On the other hand, we've got some carriers moving towards adopting public cloud services. Is public cloud a big opportunity for carriers or not?
I think it is, but I think that you have to determine what kind of public cloud services you're actually talking about. The people who are moving away from public cloud, I think, tried to compete on that basic infrastructure as a service level, kind of trying to compete with Amazon Web Services, for example. And I don't think that any carrier is ever going to be able to duplicate that offering. These are specialist companies, specialists in the space, who have really driven costs to their absolute minimum and who have the reach and the credibility in that space. So don't think that you can duplicate AWS's offering and be successful. Where you can be successful with a public cloud offering is in higher value stuff. So working with a certain set of regulations, data residency, for example, security, data protection, or working to provide certain sorts of services, maybe to a specific vertical or to a specific horizontal use case. There are some Internet of Things-based use cases that are coming along there. That's all public cloud, but it's just not that undifferentiated soup to nuts infrastructure as a service level.
So be clear that you've got a differentiator before you go into this market.
Exactly, and you have to figure out some way to add value just to the fact that you have a public cloud. You've got to provide services that add value beyond that.
Okay, well, let's talk about one of the vertical sectors where that may be the case.
Okay.
Do you see governments preferring to get their public cloud services from carriers as opposed to other providers?
Often. And often there are, again, data residency requirements or national provider requirements that require the government to get certain services from a national licensee. So that's kind of a slam dunk. But then they're also looking for people to handle their foreign operations. So diplomatic networks, defense networks, they would be happy to go to a carrier that has sort of a good, secure, multinational capability to provide those international connectivity services.
So this is partly about data sovereignty and keeping it within national boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big data sovereignty component to that. And then there are lower levels of government, regional governments, municipal governments that probably don't really have the scale or expertise to shop internationally for a cloud provider and are looking for people locally who can help them help guide them through the process while making sure that they're in regulatory compliance with the stuff that's come down from the higher level.
Okay, change of tack now. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the global trend in terms of deploying OSS, BSS, MSS in the cloud. I mean, how much of that is going on right now?
Not too much at the moment. There are some tier 2, tier 3 providers that have cloud-based services, and in some cases, even in the German-speaking countries, which tend to have very strict data sovereignty requirements, they have convinced the regulator that that's okay to move that outside the country. It's happening more and more. And what's going to happen is we're going to have a slow uptick at the beginning, and then it's going to curve up much more rapidly because people are using it to experiment and to move on a specific service or a specific need relatively quickly. So it could be microservice based. The initial deployments are going to be either specific areas like, let's say, fraud detection or roaming reconciliation, where it makes sense to have it in the cloud because you're dealing with a bunch of different operators. Or it's going to be a specific service they're using to bring services to market much more quickly. Once they get comfortable with that and they see that there's no problem in terms of resiliency or in terms of data protection, then they'll start to adopt much more rapidly. At least that's how we see it at IDC.
Okay, so tentative at the moment, but you see it speeding up.
Sure, baby steps, but babies get bigger.
Okay, and let's finally talk a little bit about OpenStack, Andy. I mean, a lot of talk about OpenStack. How do you see the move to OpenStack playing out?
Well, everybody, at least in the telecoms industry, which is one of the major verticals for OpenStack, is very, very interested in it. Everybody's rooting for OpenStack. The problem has been that on the upper level, sort of the service and application level, it hasn't been as hardened and as resilient as they really need for telecom. And so that's led to people deploying maybe a little bit more VMware than we would have thought, because VMware is ready to go today, essentially. So the people who are deploying on VMware have done it so they can go to market much more quickly. And VMware is going to stay around for a while. You know, once you deploy something, you don't immediately replace it, if for no other reason than amortization cycles. OpenStack is probably the way of the future. So everybody's going to move there eventually, and it may be that sometime at some point people will want some sort of data center environment that will run both on a single platform. But I think long term we see much more rosy prospects for OpenStack.
Okay, that's clear. Andy, thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.